Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Crime Pays a Body Doesn't. Today I was coming to you from Tree of Life Nursery over there in San Juan Capistrano. Real nice little town over there in San Diego County. Okay, I probably couldn't hang out in this town longer than a day or two without somebody calling the cops on me. But that said, this is one of the finest native plant nurseries in the nation. And I've shown it to you even if you don't live in a region where any of the plants that they sell here will grow, because I want you to see what it's like, how they run a good native plant nursery. And, you know, if you live in Iowa, you live in, you know, frickin' upstate New York, you could do this too. All right, if they don't got any native plant nurseries up there, you start one. So anyway, let's go check it out, see what we got going on. So we got, what is this? This is Coyote Brush, Baccharis, pilularis. These are just seedlings. You grow them in a flat. And so now what you're gonna do, you're gonna basically get this nice soil fixings all mixed, good drainage, and then you're just potting them up individually, or what?
Yes.
And so how long does it, so how many seedlings you got here? About like 200 or 300 probably?
No, thousands.
Thousands. How many have you done today?
Today I just started and I got 200.
Oh.
But this is the second time I bring in this plant out here.
Uh-huh.
So I already transplanted the bigger ones. You get all the root.
Look at that soil. It looks so fluffy and wonderful.
Yeah.
And then you just tap it down a little bit, huh?
Yes.
So after you pot them up, you got, what do you do? You got to keep them in shade for a week or two?
In shade, yeah, until it's ready for ship.
Till their roots grow out and they get established more. Because if you were going to put them in sun right away after taking them out of here, they'd fry.
Yes.
This is like a fluffy mix. What all's in here? And how do you figure out? You just got to feel it out. You're going for drainage and you're going for aeration, porosity, density, etc. So what do you just kind of mix sand, organics, and then a little bit of perlite, or what do we got going on?
Correct. So you have a mix. Mainly, primarily, what you have here is real clean, good, different forest products that we use. So a lot of this can even start to break down. But what we're really looking for is, like you said, that consistency for air primarily. I mean, water is one thing, but it's the air we really want in good mix. So those plants are nice and healthy.
So how you mix it good? So you put it all together, stir it up, and then you got to get in there, squeeze it, get it wet, see how fast it drains, put it in a pot, maybe pick it up, come check on it a couple hours later.
Exactly.
You know, if people were mixing their own soil at home, which I tell people to do, yeah, it's just perlite, organics, sand, test it out, see how it drains. But you got to watch out for you got cocoa core in here, but sometimes the cocoa core has salt in it, right?
This is not cocoa.
No, this is redwood. Yeah. This is like redwood bark fines.
We have shredded redwood, Douglas fir, a couple other things, but for the most part, yeah, cocoa, we've had issues with salts and things like that.
Oh, it smells amazing.
Get out of that, but
no, the cocoa, yeah, it's terrible. Some of the plants can tolerate the salt, but a lot don't like it.
Exactly.
Look at that, Platanus racemosa, one of Southern California's fastest growing plants. Goes on up into Northern California too. It's related to the dreaded London plane tree, but is a much more magnificent tree in cultivation, as you can see. Multiple trunks right there. Got that beautiful white exfoliating bark. You'll see them growing in arroyos down in Baja, California, Mexico. You know, little canyons up here. And again, they range on all the way up into Northern California. Deciduous tree too. They grow incredibly fast, provide a nice light dappled shade. And, you know, when they're deciduous, they just look like bones sticking out of the ground. Some of them can get extremely massive, too. So look at it. We got Baccharis pringlei, the native Baja saguaro equivalent. But in some ways, it's a much more beautiful cactus than saguaro. They flower much more profusely. They got a nice blue color to them when they're large, and they branch more at the base of the stem. And they can get much wider around. I've seen some in Baja that are the size of a house. These guys are nice too. Look, you can grow them in a pot like that, just kind of bonsai them. You know, since cacti, they don't need a whole lot of roots, since their roots are basically, evolved to suck up water like a dry sponge. It rains once or twice. They suck up all that water, store it in the trunk, and then they can just kind of dispose of the roots for the rest of the year and wait for another rain. So you got this guy. Look what's he doing. It's the hummingbirds just come in here and they start pollinating everything.
The bane of my existence is trying to get pure Dudleya. We're doing a big effort to try to, decrease that poaching demand. And so you can see this hummingbird just hits every single.
See, he's gonna go ruin your plans over there.
Yeah. See, so what we're doing is we're starting to use these. We developed a way to put these cages so we can prevent the pollinators.
Okay, so you put those nets to basically keep them separate, keep the pollen of one species off the
Correct.
stigma of another.
So I'll have to act as the hummingbird in that case and go and use a paintbrush that I go in and I do all the hand.
So these are all Dudleya, and for anybody watching, that's of course a genus of winter wet, summer dry succulents, kind of the California equivalent to Echeveria.
Correct.
Which is just the genus that gets summer rain and winter dry. So, but these are what we're getting hit hard by the poachers, right?
Correct.
So you guys are trying to grow these out. They just produce a ton of them, flood the market, so these poachers have less of an incentive to come in and rip them off the cliffs.
Yeah, these are some leftovers and things like that, but I have some really pure ones. And now we've been doing the seed bulking. We're also doing plant tissue culture for them to try to see how we can do this exponential kind of production to really increase that supply and just crush that demand. And so they make this plant so ubiquitous out in the market that you have no incentive to go across the world and steal them out of the wild.
This is Malosma laurina, another wonderful native. These are like a small tree, right? Like a small native member of a poison oak and mango family that doesn't produce the allergen urushiol. Look at that!
Correct.
Look at the beautiful anthocyanin pigments in that emerging foliage to protect that soft tissue from being fried by the sun until it hardens off.
Yeah, so all these are going to go out for restoration, and so all these are going to go to start to rebuild habitat.
So you got contracts for these?
Yeah, we're going tons of milkweeds right now that are just starting to wake up. This is left over from last year's crop.
So these are just, the roots are alive, the vegetative parts are just springing back into action after going dormant for the winter.
Correct. So this is all for that host for the monarch butterfly. A lot of these, what you're looking at right now is a local species, Areocarpa. It's a big woolly pod milkweed. We grow a lot of the narrow leaves and a bunch of other species.
Oh, Salvia spathacea.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. Pollinated by hummingbirds. Smells incredible. Doesn't get too tall. 2 feet tall. Maybe 3 feet tall at most. Sticky. Red flowers. All right, definitely a plant. You got to kill your lawn. Put this in there.
You got a much better one.
Oh, yeah. See, there you go.
These are brand new.
Here's one with the calyces not yet out. You know, it being spring, so they're not flowering yet. But what a great fucking plant. I can't believe, you know, the type of shit people grow down here in California. You got all these wonderful natives. They grow the tackiest shit that's just, you know, Home Depot Garden Center. Okay, here we go. Here's a plant. Here's a plant my friend collected seed of, and only grows from one hill. This is Encylio ravenii, same genus as the plant colloquially known as brittle bush that you see coming up on the roadsides in southern Arizona, except this has white flowers and solitary flowers on the ends of those peduncles. I've seen it in habitat before too, growing straight out of granite. No soil at all, growing straight out of granite. So this is an opportunity. You know, if you guys are able to get these stock plants growing, this is an opportunity. You know, you could basically get more seed, produce more of these. It's an opportunity for people to conserve this rare plant, just like any of the other rare ones you grow out of habitat, you know, in their own garden and yard.
Correct. Yeah, this is just a fantastic one. So these are our stocks. I've been babying these, you know, feeding them just right to push out all these flowers. I'm going to use these cages to just, you know, exclude those pollinators, make sure it's not crossing with anything like our other Encylio. But even if it does, I think this could be a really good one to get some really cool new introductions. Just a beautiful plant.
Right, all the Encylias tend to hybridize pretty readily, but I mean, having white rays, having white flowers is pretty remarkable.
And probably more
thing.
that garden tolerance is what I'm also thinking.
Yeah, look at how white those leaves are. You can just tell this is from a super hot, super dry area down there by San Felipe. If you exclude the pollinators with these little cages, then how do you get them in there?
I'll get in. I have paint brushes.
Oh, you hand pollinate.
And I keep the brushes in there so I don't make sure they don't get, you know,
oh,
mixed
okay.
around or anything like that. Do the pollinating myself.
Look at this. Look at the selection I got. They do wholesale. They do individual. You know, but this is important for people to see, to realize you don't have to go to the Home Depot Garden Center or Lowe's or whatever the shit and jack or pay for any of the hideous horticultural atrocities they might have there. You know, they got a lot of good stuff. You know, check your area for a native nursery. If they don't got a native nursery, you go out, you find what little crumbs of habitat are left, you collect the seeds. Okay, every flower produces a fruit, which will then have seeds. So if you come and something's flowering, you know to come back a month or two, maybe 3 months later, and check for seed. And planting natives, you're basically helping restore the ecology around your area. Look at the ceanothus, too. Wonderful genus. So many goddamn species in there. Okay, but of course, you know, if you live in California in a region, it's just certainly one of a few native nurseries worth coming to check out, you know, and just you know, load up your truck, you know, get all the stock. Look at this shit. I got Xylococcus bicolor. Yeah. Member of the blueberry family. One of kind of like a manzanita, but not closely allied to it. Same mycorrhizal symbiotes down in the soil there, but the bark on these when they get big is like white and smooth too. Wonderful. I can smell the ceanothus still. Just that shit they exude from their leaves that smells so wonderful. Now you guys grow a lot of stuff from Baja too, right? Like this Euphorbia xanthii.
Yeah, so the owners are two surfing buddies that all fell in love with Baja as well. So we consider that part of California, floristically California. They don't, you know, the plants don't care about our political boundaries.
They don't care about geopolitical boundaries.
So neither do we.
Right.
So we keep it in the same manner in that way.
Those flowers. Yeah, I've seen these things on a granite hillside right on the border between Baja California and Baja California Sur, like, you know, 10 feet tall. Look at this. They got Vacolinia from the Rosaceae. See that? See how it's got that dentate leaf margin? It's not always a giveaway for the rose family, but often it is. So it's a native rose. You could plant some tacky shit from the Home Depot Garden Center. Some tacky roses. You could plant the native one that's going to be loaded with a lot more nectar and a lot more useful to the insects and birds around your area. Heuchera from the saxifrage family. Look at those tiny flowers. Holy shit. Everything covered in hair is just an adaptation to the summer dry climate. It's incredible. You know what blew my mind about native plants too is so many people living in an area don't know what's native around them. There's so little habitat left. What are you doing? Get over here. There's so little habitat left, they don't even know what's native and what's not. You know, they just don't know. They just got to be shown a better way. You don't need to go to Home Despot. Find a native plant nursery, collect your own seed, grow your own shit, you know? First you got to kill your lawn. Oh, Monardella. Yeah. Salvia family, thyme family, rosemary family. See those opposite leaves? Plant colloquially known as coyote mint. And you can see those opposite leaves, and then it just, the whole thing smells incredible. The smell, you can make a nice tea out of that. Oh,
the flowers is great for butterflies.
Yeah, and then when the flowers go off, just like a verticillast, a bunch of little tiny bilaterally symmetrical flowers whirled around the stem. You know, but every region has its own cast of native plant species. You just got to find out. What they are. Berberis and the Vinnii. Medicinal. You could use the roots. You know, you get sick, you make a little tincture, put it in your ass, or drink it, or whatever. You know. Well, so this is Polypodium californicum. You grew these from spores. How long did it take to get them?
These took to this size. These are about 2 years old.
2 years.
Yeah.
But these would do good in a native garden. I mean,
absolutely.
Just, you know, probably not harsh sun.
Yeah.
A little bit of shade. You got the shade cloth up there.
Yeah. So these will have a nice here. We can even pull one out. You know, so you can see these ones will all have a rhizome. So these can also be divided. I mean, I started these from spores, but since then, you're not gonna see it, but you can see them all starting to spread underneath. There's the rhizome in there, and then all these little fronds.
Oh yeah. So once you get it established, it takes off. Yeah. But it's also easy to manage too. It's not going to run wild.
Correct. Yeah. Propagation's the harder part going from spores. So we did these all in a lab to make sure to baby them out. Looked at them under a microscope once they were germinating, and just keep them going and going. See, they're actually probably sporulating right now. You start to see some of those spores starting to develop.
Oh yeah, they're not ready yet.
So
look at that.
They were.
Look at a sorry over there.
They were. You'll find them. In California, every year I feel like I'm saying it's a weird year, weather-wise. So I think that's just the norm. But
holy shit, it's the Dudleya dungeon. Is this Anthonii?
This is Anthonii.
So these were getting hit by poachers too. And the reason so many succulents are easily poached is because they got all that food and water stored, all those carbohydrates and water stored in their leaves. They can take shipping pretty well. So you could ship them back home overseas pretty easily once you pluck them off the cliffs. But they're also extremely easy to grow, so it doesn't make any sense. And if you do poach, I hope you get kicked in the dick and, you know, subject to a large fine. So this is Dudleya Anthonii. I've seen these in habitat that grow in Baja California in a lichen covered landscape. All this lichen, just, you know, no shrubs taller than 2 or 3 feet tall, growing on an extinct volcano right next to the Pacific Ocean.
You got the Pachyphytum here.
Oh yeah, Pachyphytum. Look at these little chunky bastards. Look at that.
Very
look at all
possible
the wax.
this
Look
one-
at that goddamn wax. Look at all farina. Look at that. You could see the water beating up on it.
Well, hope not. That's what I'm trying to.
But it's good.
prevent
It ends up being good for it. It'll evaporate, but it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's such an adaptation evolutionarily to this summer dry.
Exactly.
Dudleya viscida. Oh yeah, because it's viscid and
Yeah.
sticky.
Yeah, you can feel the sticky.
What color are the flowers? Is it hummingbird pollinator
It's
or
one of,
bee?
I think, one of the most attractive of the Dudleya flowers. It's like it's kind of a light
Yeah,
pink.
people don't realize how cool these are until they bloom. Then you
Mhm.
get a stalk that comes up with
Yeah,
a couple dozen flowers on it. Oh, these guys. Oh yeah, you got the Vermontodendron. Ah, what a great plant. Cotton family Malvaceae, but pretty unique. Look at those. Look at those anthers. 5 anthers, and then that style right in the center. Hybridizes readily with a genus that grows, 3,000 miles away, and maybe 2,000 miles away in the cloud forests of Oaxaca, the Caranthodendron. And a fire-dependent plant here too. Just very adapted to fire. The seeds need scarification or hot water treatment to germinate. They call it flannel bush because it's got all those trichomes on it. Thrives in the sun and just covered. I mean, they get, 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide, just covered in these beautiful yellow flowers and all the bees that come to pollinate them too. And this is the Hespero yucca whipplei. Incredible, somewhat dangerous once they get old. They got those very sharp points, but the inflorescence is like a 4 foot tall, in some cases 8 or 9 foot tall, just flame of hundreds of white flowers. You're going to save so much on your water bill. You plant natives, you plant stuff that's adapted that are low maintenance. You might have to prune them once or twice a year. Some of the bushes and stuff, you're not going to have to prune the Dudleyas, obviously. But, and then you can, they'll flower, they produce their own seed. You can grow the seed if you give a shit. If you don't care about that, you just want something to, to occupy where the lawn was and, make so the dogs can't shit. That's fine. You take the seed, give it to your neighbor. Maybe they want to grow it, But it gives you a connection to the land you live on. So you're not just, right now, if you got a lawn, the only thing you have a connection to is the fucking void within your own soul in the Home Depot Garden Center, you prick. So now, if this stuff was in the ground, some of it, it probably would need this shade cloth. But since they're in pots, you got a 4 inch by 4 inch volume of soil right there. It dries out very easily once it's exposed to full sun. I'm just illustrating to you the importance of shade cloth. You put shit in the ground, it's going to be a lot happier. It dries out much more slowly than in a pot. But obviously, if you're working in a nursery, you got to get these things ready for sale. You got to keep them in those small pots. You got to get the shade cloth to it. It's less stress on the plants. Then Dramacon, one of the bush poppies. What an incredible plant. And again, they top out at 6 or 7 feet. They're going to overtake your yard. And see, you got those sclerophilous leaves. Now this is an iconic plant for just putting in the ground in full sun and not watering. Maybe you water it in once, you just never water it again. You just forget about it, and they thrive on that, like so many of the natives do. They just thrive on being neglected. Over here we got Arctostaphylos otaiensis, one of 96 taxa in the genus Arctostaphylos, blueberry family here. This one incredibly rare, known from Otay Mesa, right there on the border. And again, when they flower, they just got these beautiful white flowers on them. And again, you put it in the ground, full sun, forget about it, And then when they, like all the Arctostaphylos, when they get large, they get this beautiful smooth bark. You can't quite see it right there. Bark like a madrone. See, there's those beautiful urn-shaped flowers, kind of like a pinkish white. You can see just the stems covered in hair, buzz pollinated. So they got those porocidal anthers that got to respond to the frequency of the bees' wings, and then they just dump out the pollen. Some good nectar in there too, though. Look at that. And this is a plant from the same family as that Arctostaphylos, but much rarer. And used to exist in the United States. Now it's extinct within the United States geopolitical boundaries, except for places where it's been replanted. This is Ornithostaphylos oppositifolia, because it's got those opposite leaves, as you can see. Which is nice. It's how a plant should be named, rather than after some fucking dead white guy. Who gives a shit? Anyway, there's those flowers, those urn-shaped flowers. Wonderful plant to see in habitat. Basically, it's only native within a certain proximity to the Pacific Ocean, maybe 20 miles, 30 miles inland at most, from Tijuana south to, I don't know, maybe 200 miles south of Tijuana. Maybe not even that. So it's got a very narrow range, but it's one of the most incredible members of the blueberry family, Ericaceae, and just perfectly adapted to the hot and dry summers. Oh, and look at the abaxial surface of those leaves with the white. Holy shit. God damn it. You see that? You like that? You like the wicks, huh? Huh? Fucking great plant. I love this thing. I've seen them in habitat, just full frontal nudity, you know, in the desolate granite mountains growing with Tecate cypress, you know, right after you get out of the Cardone belt, you know, you get a little bit too high for the Cardones to grow because you still might get an errant frost here and there. But just a wonderful goddamn plant. You can see it's just finishing up flower. But you could imagine if each one of those flowers was going off, you'd have, you know, I'd be holding 300 flowers right now. Things just covered in bees. Look, from the current family, Crassulaceae, this is ribes, okay? Look at those flowers. Hummingbird pollinated, obviously, tubular flowers, wonderful native plant. And again, you get those hairs. You know what those hairs means? It means your water bill is going to go down because you don't got to water these guys once you put them in the ground, huh? You silly prick. Look at that. Get inside there. Look at those. Oh, yeah, see that? Look at those glands. See the stamen, see that stigma in there? Banger plant. It's tragic, you know, to live in a place. Some people live in a place their whole life. They never know what the native flora looks like. They never have any connection to the native plants that grow there. It's fucking tragic. Now look at these guys, all right? See and note this. You ever know a buckthorn could be so beautiful? So buckthorn family, Rhamnaceae, that means they're associating with the Frankia-bacteria. They're nitrogen fixing in their roots, which means your goofy ass isn't going to have to put any more nitrogen into the soil, which will then later wash out into the ocean and poison people and marine mammals alike, and the fish, of course. So you got those flowers, wonderful, wonderful smelling flowers. Okay, huge genus here. We're talking upwards of 80 species. You can see it's got those rhamnaceous stems. You know, a lot of buckthorn family members. The thorn in buckthorn comes from the way that they terminate those branches into a spine, which many ceanothus do. Ceanothi, could you say that? You probably couldn't say that, but I'm going to say it anyway. There's those fruits. It's a little capsule. They explosively dehiss. At least some of them do when they're mature, so they kind of shoot their seeds out. And again, just covered in flowers. I mean, you could smell them from 10 feet away. And then also, on many of the species, they have these glands. In this case, they're probably on the underside of those leaves that exude a very pleasant fragrance. So the leaves smell too. And it's a wonderful thing, you know, wonderful fragrance to pick up on a beautiful spring day when you might feel like killing somebody. You know, I don't know what you got going on in your personal life, but let's be honest, a lot of it's not too bright in many cases, at least for many of us. So that's why it's good to surround yourself with native plants. Calm you down a little bit. And look at that nectariferous disc. Touch my nectariferous disc. See that little yellow thing? That's what gets the pollinators in there, gets them touching those yellow anthers, and then maybe depositing that pollen on that bifid style on another flower. Ceanothus. You got to get a ceanothus. So these, what is this? These are all cuttings. They don't look seed grown. So the way you do cuttings, you just put some perlite in there, put them underneath the shade cloth, get some rooting hormone, and then just water them. Basically, don't let them dry out.
Correct.
But don't let them soak in rat either. That's why the perlite's good. This is Justicia.
This is Justicia. I believe this is Purpussii, maybe. I think maybe Californica. I think it's Purpussii.
Now, some of these are, and the reason you guys do cuttings, they're faster, and some of these plants are just hard to grow from seed as well, right? A lot of plants from arid lands can have very tricky germination mechanisms in them.
Correct.
So these are another obviously hummingbird pollinated plant.
Right.
And it's got the photosynthetic stems too, so it can drop those leaves and go drought deciduous. Well, not drought deciduous, it's still photosynthesizing, but it's basically minimizing its transpirational water loss, which again means anyone with one of those in their garden is not going to be wasting as much money on water. Oh, yeah.
So this is a selection we introduced called Punta Bunda. Just a little more
Punta Bunda! From the Plantagenaceae. Look at that bilaterally symmetrical flower. Wonderful, wonderful calyx. And again, another hummingbird pollinated. So many hummingbird pollinated plants down here.
Yeah, you got...
What are you doing, Jack? Get out of here.
This is...
Give him a sausage. I don't know why he's doing it.
Californica.
Oh, yeah. So we got the nitrogen fixation in there. Member of the pea family. Look at those. Oh, yeah. And that's hummingbird pollinator right there, too. Look at that. Okay, so San Diego County being so close in proximity to Baja, to Mexico, where you get a lot of rare plants that don't make it as far north as the U.S., as well as the Channel Islands, islands being their own opportunities for genetic isolation and thus speciation. You get a lot of rare stuff like this Solanum. This is Solanum Wallacei. You can see that. You got the poricidal anthers on there. See those little holes at the ends of those yellow banana-looking things? So buzz-pollinated and just covered in the, look at that thing. It looks like a goddamn Q-tip, covered in the hairs and the glands, very sticky. A lot of, God, how many plants are endemic to the Channel Islands and occur nowhere else? A convergent trait among many of the plants from the California Floristic Province, and it's too bad this guy's not flowering yet. Well, he's almost about to. You can see his bud right there. This is a member of the genus Lysingia and the Asteraceae. But a convergent trait among many of the plants is this chalky blue color, and again, that results from all those hairs, which means a lot less watering and a lot easier of a time enduring those dry summers. You know, unlike your lawn, which you should kill and destroy and dig up. You know, they got those sod chompers now. They make it real easy. You could go rent one from the home center for a day. Take care of your lawn in about 20 minutes. You can see, look at that. Look at all those hairs. So they got hairs. They got glands exuding wonderful smelling terpenes, pleasant smelling terpenes. Maybe they're a little sticky, and they can just take those dry summers like nothing. Okay, and it's just a nice color palette too to have in your yard, you know, as opposed to the fucking oleander.
All right, so we got some of the island snapdragon over here. This is Galvezia, or it was Galvezia, now it's Gambelia speciosa.
With the red flowers?
Correct. So again, another awesome.
These cuttings, or are these seed grown or what?
These are all cutting grown. Does really well from cuttings.
What the fuck do you got this Salvia? I've seen this in habitat. It's fucking rare as hell.
Yeah, this is
Salvia cedrosensis.
Yep.
But how'd you get the white flowered one?
So it actually has two different flowers, white and blue. We separate both and we use them horticulturally. I almost lost the blue for a while, but now I got the white. You can see a whole bunch more down here. Brittany and Canna. It's Nether Asteraceae.
All this rare stuff from Mexico and the Channel Islands.
Yeah. And
I don't understand why people would not be growing this, you know.
And this is one of the most dependable plant in the garden I've ever seen. Gets huge, bunch of yellow flowers.
It's about the flower. Yeah, look at these fucking, look at
that. Glaucous color leaves. Just
it
nice
feels waxy.
Yeah.
It feels waxy. Is there hairs on there too?
Like
maybe tiny hairs. Look at it.
Nighttime moonlit garden.
Oh, it smells good too.
Pops and awesome. Got canyon sunflower here, Venegacia, Carpasoides.
So eventually you pot all these up into 1 gallons and then put them in the nursery and out to the public they go.
Correct.
Okay, so tell us what this is. So you guys don't do this anymore, but you used to make your own mycorrhizae, right?
Well, we developed a method of growing mycorrhizae. This is basically like kitty litter, but it was called VAM 80, and we developed it here with some of the science. Now we buy the product that we sold the protocol to, but still we include all those the good beneficial mycorrhizae into our soil mix, so that's all has that nice happy association.
Arbuscular mycorrhizae or ecto or what?
We do both. We do both.
And so you would grow the host plant in these things.
Right. You see the Tagetes Lamoniae down here.
Oh yeah. Right.
We use that as the rootstock, and then actually just harvest those.
So Tagetes, so it was AM mycorrhizae in that case.
Yeah.
Because they only associate with the AM, but you would grow these, and then you would just basically, how would you get it off the roots?
You literally just, well, first you got to confirm that it's actually colonizing, then you do that in the lab. But then once we know, then we'll actually just uproot, harvest those roots, and incorporate them into these other plants that you've seen that you transplant. It'll all colonize other plants as well, and you have so many benefits, a nice healthy root.
Right, because like 90% of plants associate with mycorrhizae.
Yeah. Those good guys are in this soil. It'll kick all the bad guys out, and you just have a nice healthy plant.
Over here we got another wonderful plant, Sorothamnus spinosus, the Mojave smoke tree. Okay, this guy is actually tolerant of a freeze or two. You can see it's got the photosynthetic stems, member of the pea family, Fabaceae, tiny purple flowers when they flower. They can also have leaves sometimes too, though you rarely see them like that unless it just rained. Okay, most of the time they're just doing the photosynthesis through the stems. These things look fucking phenomenal coming up in a desert wash in the desolate Mojave Desert, and it'd be a great thing to plant in your yard if you lived around this area. You know, I don't know what the cold tolerance is. Probably 20 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe colder. I've seen them growing in some places that get very cold in the winter. And they got the orange glands in them too, because they're in that tribe of Morphae of the pea family. And then last, you know, you see a lot of cacti in the Home Depot Garden Center. Okay, you see them, you know, tortured, slowly dying on someone's porch. But this is a native one that grows, probably used to grow in San Diego County at some point, and still grows just south of the border in Baja. This is the golden torch, is the common name. Burgerocactus amorii. And they basically just do this, but they'll form these colonies right on these bluffs above the ocean. They look fucking fantastic. Another important native plant to have in your garden down here if you live in a region. But again, you know, don't trip out on it. And you know, every place has its own native plants. And that's the thing I want you to take away from this, okay? How do you find what the native plants are? Find the little crumbs of habitat, find the wilderness preserves, okay, the little native plant preserves. Sometimes they're just, you know, you only got one or two geriatric white people running it. Okay, no offense to them, they're doing a good job. I just, you know, in a lot of places in the country, there's not many people, you know, getting back into this shit yet because they don't know how rewarding it can be. It just takes people caring and, you know, stopping to observe what's going on in their local area, you know, to put everything in context. But again, I just can't imagine living in a place and having no connection to the plants that have lived there for millions of years before your goofy ass got there. So find the native crumbs of habitat, go out to them, start using the iNaturalist app, learn what's native, what's not, you know, find the plants you like, recognize what they look like in flower, what they look like in fruit, and you know, the more you give a shit, the more you'll just start to be able to identify them even when they're not flowering, and you get them growing in your yard, kill your fucking lawn. Is that a Cantogillia? Oh, that's an amazing plant too. And it's extremely fucking rewarding. I can't stress it to you enough. Look at this Lepidchinia. These things smell incredible too. Those leaves are just covered in volatiles. You got those hummingbird pollinated bilaterally symmetrical flowers. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. Have a good rest of the afternoon. Go fuck yourself. Bye. This is Tree of Life Nursery over there in San Juan Capistrano. Okay, pardon the sound of someone taking a leak. They got a fountain back there. Here's another one. Barosia, now in the genus Lipia fastigiata. It's a Baja California tree verbena. Okay, only been observed on iNaturalist 3 times. It's rare. It goes down there by Puerto San Carlos and BCS. Down there, but look at those inflorescences. Look at it, it's a goddamn tree. It's a verbena family, but it's a goddamn tree. Looks like little lantana looking flowers. And are you going to stick your proboscis in there nice? How are you going to do that? Bilaterally symmetrical flower, a verticillast. Look at all the bracts. Love to see it in habitat. But if you can't see it in habitat, the least you can do is grow it in your garden. Oh, it's got the Lamiaceae, so it's the order of sages and salvias. So it's got some nice exudate, some nice smelling volatiles coming out of the leaves as well. And of course, being from an arid climate, it's got all those goddamn hairs. They sell these here. They said people weren't buying them though. I don't know why the shit not. First, look at that. Constantia navinii. Another one of those. Look at it. Lacy foliage, minimizing surface exposure to the sun, covered in a goddamn, look at those hairs. Look at that. Not even in flower. When it's in flower, you got these beautiful yellow flowers going off, but not even in flower. And it's a goddamn, it's ice bush. See out here in the displays. Look at that. They got Yuccasite digra, which grow from the Mojave to the coast. Look at that. They got informational signs too. All the choices. Break one off. Give it to your friend, especially if you don't like them. Pluchia. These are salt tolerant. A lot of the natives too are really tolerant to some shitty soil. Malacothamnus. This is a banger right there. Cotton family. Spreads rhizomally. Just a wall of blue leaves and pink flowers. Do not water. Just plant in the full sun and the heat and they'll do fine. Ooh, Prunus ilicifolia. This is a banger too. Holly leaf cherry from the islands. And I just covered it. Rose family, same genus as, you know, regular cherries that you'd buy in a store. Just covered in white, covered in, you know, huge panicles of small white flowers and covered in bees. And it grows fast as hell too. So it makes a good screen for a native garden. And they're shade tolerant too, but they definitely grow a lot faster in sun. See, look, they got a little demonstration garden too with the racks and stuff. Nice, not, you know, most people would probably pay for these, but you could get a couple friends and maybe load one of these in a truck. Granted, you'd be, you know, probably breaking your axle by the time you got home, but you know, it's free at least. Don't you like free stuff? Or you just use a bunch of small racks. Just get some racks. Gives you a reason to bring racks home. Do some nice xeriscaping. Look at it. Yeah. Look how Steinbeckian this architecture. This is like the beautiful side of California that they don't show you, you know. Instead you just see the fucking parking lots and the strip malls and the freeways. And look at that. The acorn woodpeckers are using this as a granary. Did anybody say they could do that? I don't think nobody said. They don't seem to mind though. They said it's fine. Did they come back and get these or what? Or they just leave them there?
Yeah, they'll come back.
They come back and they get them out later? What is these? Are just coast live oak acorns, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, they let them kind of marinate.
You're not worried about them compromising the structural integrity though. This is a treated lag.
Yeah.
They're storing them up there in a sycamore too. They're storing little acorns up there in a granary too. They just, wherever they want to do it.